Hello everyone, back tuning into today's first video. It's JMA Friday, so as always on a Friday we've got your month ahead look ahead with Japanese and CFS V2 models. We're going to take us into the early part of June, so we begin to move into the beginning of the summer of 2019 with the 30-day month ahead look aheads now. So I get on that for you very shortly. Just say that coming up later on this afternoon we'll have your week to 10-day video update as always. So that'll be with you here on the homepage at gasservice.com later on this afternoon. But we're starting off with JMA Friday, so this is the 500 millibar height anomaly flowchart from the North Pole view down from the JMA for week 1, which is going to take us from the 10th through to the 17th of May. These are broken down into weekly periods, of course. So the North Pole of the Northern Hemisphere is just there, the mid-latitudes, Northern Hemisphere around there. Red and orange and yellow will be extrapolating to above average heights, which is high pressure. Blue will be extrapolating to below average heights, which is low pressure. So in the coming week, we've got a ridge of above average heights centered almost over top of the country, but it does extend back in towards high pressure, which is sitting over North Pole as well, so northern blocking is up over the pole. We've got low pressure out in the Atlantic and also across the southeastern part of Europe, which means the flow and the jet going to be going something a little bit like that. So we're under that ridge of high pressure. You can expect a lot of dry weather to be on offer with that in the week ahead. And temperatures after a chilly start should start to get a little bit warmer. Probably not a heat wave because we're probably bringing a wind from kind of like a northeasterly direction, so it won't be overly warm, but certainly settling down and that ridge of high pressure becoming a little bit more influential. Then we go through to week 2. This one takes us from the 17th through to 24th of May with a northern blocking signal up to our north. We've got above average heights up there, below average heights getting closer to us in the Atlantic, and also a trough of low pressure over Scandinavia as well. So I suspect we're bringing in kind of like chilly east-northeasterly winds with this, and the trough of low pressure in the Atlantic could well be bringing in bands of rain as well. So that looks quite cool and quite unsettled, I would have thought, as we go through into week 2, the 17th to the 24th of May. And then weeks 3 and 4 looking like this. It's the 24th of May to the 7th of June. We get some above average heights setting up across the Mediterranean, central parts of the Med. Below average heights are still there over sort of northern parts of Scandinavia and over towards the Baltic Sea. Otherwise, there's not much else going on. So it looks like that blocking signal is reducing a little bit. We might be reverting to a little bit more of a westerly flow there, perhaps as we get through to the end of May and the beginning of June. But again, very, very weak signals from the JMA with that one. This is the tropical and mid-latitude views, so the British Isles are just here at the top right-hand corner of the chart as you are looking at it. Reminder of the week 1 500 millibar height anomaly, taking us from the 10th through to the 17th of May. So it's an anticyclonic week, above average height centred almost over the top of the country. We can't see the North Pole. That's off the chart up here, but we know that this ridge does actually extend back to high pressure to above average height sitting within the northern latitudes up there as well. Temperature anomalies for the weekend are being forecast to be ever so slightly above average. So it's average to ever so slightly above average, particularly so for northern parts of the country. England and Wales coming out quite close to average. Quite a cold week coming up though still for many central parts of Europe. And the precipitation anomaly, because we're under a ridge of high pressure, obviously going to be mainly dry. So precipitation anomalies coming out drier than average in the week ahead from the 10th to the 17th of the month. Then we go through to week 2. 17th to 24th of May with below average heights in the Atlantic just here. Above average heights kind of like in the northern latitudes, which we can't see, but got high pressure up there. And there's also a trough over Scandinavia we can just make out over here. So the temperature anomaly for week 2 is quite close to average, possibly still a little bit on the milder than average side, but it's not a big deviation And precipitation anomalies, not as bad as I was expecting actually, still a little bit on the drier than average side there, slightly drier than normal as we go from the 17th to the 24th of May. And then finally we're into weeks 3 and 4, which takes us from the 24th of May to the 7th of June. All looking rather average really. I thought we might be starting to revert back to a little bit more of a westerly flow there. Perhaps temperature anomalies, again very close to or slightly above average, not a big deviation, and just looks a little bit more unsettled as well, particularly for northern parts of the country. So again, that probably just backs up the idea of a bit more of a westerly starting to return as we get through towards the end of May and the beginning of June. But very, very weak signals, and bear in mind it's a 2-weekly anomaly, so there could be some transitional type patterns going on there. So overall not too bad from the JMA actually today. It's looking not too bad really for the next 4 weeks. This is how the CFS V2 is shaping up in comparison. So again, we've got 500 millibar heights broken down to weekly periods. The first weekly period will take us from the 10th through to the 16th of May. The coming week we'll have above average heights over the UK and also extending to our north, below average heights in the Atlantic and across central southeastern parts of the Mediterranean. So we're in a ridge of high pressure and we're settling things down. The flow of jet's probably going something a little bit like that. So a lot of dry weather coming up. Probably again not particularly warm because you expect to be pulling in the wind kind of like from an east or northeasterly direction really with position of that ridge, but certainly settling down, and it will feel warmer compared to what we've had in recent days with all of the overcast and showery weather that we've been experiencing. That's week 2. It's the 17th to the 23rd of May with above average heights sitting to our north. We're bringing in those easterly winds then. So a lot of dry weather on offer with that one. We've got below average heights to our south, which could threaten some heavy showers or maybe thundery rain to southern parts of the country. It looks like that's mainly restricted to France. So a lot of dry weather there on offer as well, and maybe a little bit warmer as the winds perhaps a bit more easterly as opposed to being northeasterly. High pressure sitting over the top of the country through week 3. This is the 24th through to the 30th of May. The above average heights and building up across France and the UK. Below average heights up to the north. Jet stream being pushed north as well. So that looks quite promising. A lot of dry and fairly warm weather on offer with that one. That's covering the late spring bank holiday weekend, of course. And then week 4, which is the 31st of May to the 6th of June, has the above average heights to our west and south with below average heights up to the north, and possibly just bringing in a little bit more of a westerly flow with that. So maybe turning a bit cooler and a bit more unsettled as we go into the beginning of June, particularly so for northern parts of the country. But overall, nothing too bad showing up here between the JMA and the CFS, which if you was watching the video yesterday, you'll know that the Bayesian Climate Centre model is going for a very unsettled and also very blocked, quite cool, wet type pattern through the remainder of May and even going into June as well. There's no real sign of that with the JMA and CFS V2 today. So that's not to say the Bayesian Climate Centre is wrong, but it's not supported by the JMA and the CFS, at least at the moment. Temperature anomalies for the coming week, the 10th to the 16th of May, below average. Going to be colder than an average week coming up, particularly so for many central and eastern parts of Europe. Really, really cool conditions over there. You'll notice America also looking quite cold across a large bulk of it in the week ahead. So both sides of the Atlantic actually have entered into really quite a cool, if not fairly cold phase, certainly compared to average. But week 2 shows a change. This is the 17th to 23rd of May when the temperature anomaly then is starting to lift up above average, and that continues into week 3, which is the 24th to the 30th of May. That one also warmer than average, and week 4 rounds it off. This is the 31st of May to the 6th of June. That one is above average for UK and for Ireland and for most parts of Europe as well. So once you get this cold week out of the way, the CFS wants to warm things up very quickly by the middle of the month, and then that takes us through to the second half of the month and even into the beginning of June. Precipitation anomalies finally. So week 1, 10th to 16th of May, drier than average for the UK and for Ireland. Week 2, which is the 17th to 23rd of May, that one also looking pretty dry, especially for northern parts of the country. Week 3, as the signal begins to weaken, as usual, we go sort of average or no signal type conditions, and then week 4, which is the 31st of May to 6th of June, and also quite close to average, so we lose a signal for precipitation for weeks 3 and 4. Overall, not a bad update, this. There was a few concerns, I think, after we saw the Beijing Climate Centre model yesterday about where we're going to go into a very cool, unsettled, sort of northern blocking type pattern through the remainder, through most of May, and even lasting well into June. And there's no real sign of it with the JMA and the CFS. So if you're looking for a warmer, drier type weather pattern late to May and into June, this looks more promising compared to the Beijing Climate Centre model. But that's not saying Beijing Climate Centre is wrong. It could be that Beijing Climate Centre is right, and these models are being too sort of optimistic about warmer and drier conditions. But overall, nothing to be too alarmed about with this. All looking rather average, I have to say. Starting off quite cool, but relatively dry. It just looks rather warmer sort of towards the end of the month, and nothing particularly dramatic going on. But again, we do have to bear in mind that the Beijing Climate Centre is showing something a lot more blocked and potentially a lot cooler and wetter as we go to the end of May and the beginning of June. So we shall see. We'll see what the shorter range models have to say about the next couple of weeks, actually, in today's second video update. I'm not sure they're going to be particularly in agreement with the JMA and the CFS here. So we'll see in today's second video update what is happening within the shorter range model output today. Right, that's all now. Remember, it's just a snapshot, so it could all look very different next week. These models are highly experimental, and they are prone to wild swings and chopping and changing, so it could all look really different next week, but that's how it's looking today. We'll be back later on this afternoon with your week to 10-day video update, so come back for that then. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching.